Waffly waff, waffly waff, waffly waffly waff. Waffly waff, waffly waff, waffly waffly waff, waff, waffly waff, waffly waff, waffly waffly waff. Waffly waff, waffly waff, waffly waffly waff. Waffly waffly waff, waffly waffly waff. Waff 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 waff. Waffly waffly waff, ha ha ha, waffly waffly waff. Hello everybody and welcome to a festive film Geek Waffle extravaganza. I've just obviously paused because I can't actually remember how to speak English, but screw it, I'm going to keep going. The whole plan with this is we're me and my fellow co-hosts, which you can obviously kind of see on your screen as well, are going to kind of talk about festive films, Christmas films, what have you, and essentially try and recommend some fun things to watch at this time of year, because we all like a Christmas film. Or a festive film or a holiday film, because obviously I don't want to kind of offend anybody, so like holiday, whatever you kind of like choose to kind of pick. So a few kind of provisos, kind of rules with this. One big rule in general. So there's a debate every single year with a particular film. I'm not going to bring it up unless anybody else wants to bring it up during the kind of course of this, whereby whether or not it's a Christmas film. And there's other films that are starting to fall into this category and what have you. So my feeling on this is, if you think it's a Christmas film, if you watch it at Christmas and you get festive feelings and you enjoy it at this time of year, then I could not give a fuck. I will not shame you. And I'm going to extend that same kind of like courtesy to all you guys as well and ask you guys to do the same. Whereby if somebody kind of suggests like Sex and the City, the movie, for whatever particular reason, because you like watching that at Christmas, there is no shame. There is no judgment here. All right? It's your kind of bag. So there is no point that anybody's not going to go, that's not a Christmas film, because if you do, you're getting slapped and booted out in the chat. That's my kind of plan. So hopefully you guys agree with that as well. So I'll just introduce folks around. So you'll recognize a couple of these guys from previous Geek Waffles. So I have Erin from our like Final Space Geek Waffle. Say hi, Erin.
Hi, Erin.
I knew she was going to do that. Like, it was such an obvious joke. It's fine. It's fine. We can forgive her. And Chloe from the longest Geek Waffle I've done, which was 2.5 hours of losty goodness. Say hello to Chloe as well. Hi, Chloe.
Hello.
And joining us for the first time is the other Mark, which I will refer to as Mr. D during the course of this, because otherwise it's going to get confusing as shit. So, yes. Hi, Mark. Or Mr. D.
Hello.
Already broke
Mr.
my
B. Good to see you. Good to see you.
So these guys have obviously very kindly kind of agreed to kind of join me. Like, I was hoping to get Richie as well, but he's a prick. And if he's ever watching this, Richie, you're a prick. I don't like you anymore. But apparently he was busy. Prick. But yeah. So we'll go around the circle. We've already kind of decided our order or square. I think it's probably going to be a square because there's like 4 of us. But yeah. So I'm going to kick off, potentially to annoy Erin, right off the kind of bat. So the first film I'm going to recommend is Anna and the Apocalypse. I'm wondering if Erin was going to mention that one, or she's no. Ah, nice, right? Okay. I actually thought we might have had a wee bit of contention there. So for those who obviously don't know, and that's the kind of whole reason for this, Anna and the Apocalypse is a Christmas Scottish zombie musical. Which, I mean, there we go. I don't even think I should say anything else. That should be enough for you to go, hang on a second. That's, yeah, I'm already doing that.
Probably good to include that it's free on Prime at the moment as well.
It's apparently free on Prime at the moment. I mean, I currently own it on Blu-ray, and I believe Erin also owns a copy as well, because it's a very, very fun film. So Erin and I caught it, it was, I think, about 3 years ago now. I actually think it was that far back, 2-3 years ago at the cinema. I'd heard it was on the kind of cards, and like I'd heard kind of rumblings about it. And my kind of claim to fame is I actually kind of worked with one of the actors in it in one of my uni projects as well. So like, you know, that's going to be carved on my kind of tombstone. Worked with somebody in uni on that Anna and the Apocalypse film. But yeah, so I'd kind of heard about it and stuff like that. And immediately I was just like, you know what? Christmas zombie Scottish musical, like, shut up and take my money. Like, this already, and I'm not a huge musical fan. I really am. Like, unless it does something fairly unique, and this does something fairly unique. So Horror musicals are very kind of few and far between. There is Cannibal the Musical as well, which is as fantastic as it sounds, and Repo the Genetic Opera, which was a steaming turd. I don't know if anybody else seen that, but like Denny.
I loved Repo the Genetic
no,
Opera.
no.
Because it's crazy. Because it's crazy.
Well, then I apologise. I did not mean to offend, sir.
No. I fully acknowledge the hate for it is real and in most cases deserved. But I still love it.
But yes, so yeah, the whole premise is so it's set in a high school. It's almost kind of like Zombie High School Musical, I think, which I've never kind of watched. Something like, and this isn't me going, no, I've never watched it because like I didn't care. I'll admit to anything. But yeah, so it's focuses around Anna, unsurprisingly, who is planning on kind of like leaving the kind of country rather than kind of going to uni once she graduates kind of school. But then unfortunately the zombie apocalypse happens, as it so often does. And then obviously you get some really kind of fun, kick-ass kind of tunes, like some unbelievably gory violence at points as well. It's funny. It's as I say,
there's a lot of comedy in it,
and it's actually quite heartfelt as well. There's some like quite decent emotional beats where you're, I'm okay, I'm a grind, you're grind.
There's a particular scene in it which I like, and it's got a really good song as well, where she sort of gets up in the morning and she's going to school.
Yeah.
And she's got her headphones on and she's dancing down the street. Meanwhile, in the background, you can see the start of a zombie apocalypse happening. So like the mailman's attacking a woman in her house coat and stuff. Everything's going to shit. But she's like, I'm having the best day of my life doing this dance down the road.
That so I refer to that as the Dawn of the Dead, like the remake kind of like musical number, because like it's reminiscent of the opening minutes of the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead, where like she comes to her apartment and shit's gone to hell and whatever, and she's like, yeah, but like she obviously doesn't kind of break into song. So yeah, like
also
that's
a bit like Shaun of the Dead when he goes to the shops.
Yeah, and obviously
or the one of the adverts for Dead Island, where the runner's going along listening to his iPod and zombies are happening behind him.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's a trope, but we love it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's fun. It's very kind of like subversive. It's like stupid at points, and like it's kind of self-aware. I think obviously, I mean, like you doing a Christmas zombie musical, it's quite good. But the Scottishness is quite there as well, which I quite like. There's a particular line in one of the songs where the guy's like, "What was I thinking? This isn't Disney." He specifically says "isn't" in the actual song, and but the rest of the song he kind of like sings with dropping our kind of colloquialisms into it, and it's just like, that's just for us because obviously we know what Isney is, so I quite like it. So it's definitely worth a shout. If you want something completely kind of off the cuff and just crazy and fun, and as I say, there's quite like emotional and sweet moments in it as well. It's totally fun. So my first recommendation, Anna and the Apocalypse, and I will move over to Chloe.
Oh, thank you for that one, because I've never seen it, but you've totally sold it. So I'll watch that.
Yeah, watch on Prime.
We're not sponsored by Prime, by the way. Just so you know.
Other streaming services are available. However, Anna and the Apocalypse is exclusively on Prime at the moment. Netflix had it during the summer for some reason, because everybody wants to watch a Christmas film during the summer.
Yeah.
But yes,
sorry. Please continue.
It's okay. So my first recommendation for you all today is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I'm very sorry if anyone has that. So the Jim Carrey version, which is awesome, and I watch it religiously every year, maybe even several times a year. I love it. I just, there's so many iconic moments, but maybe I should sum up the plot. Do people really need that? I feel like we've all seen this film, but basically there's a Grinch and he's very grumpy and he doesn't like Christmas. And he meets this little girl called Cindy Lou and she lives in Whoville, and Yeah, he learns to love Christmas. Depending on the adaptation, the story actually varies a little bit. I don't know if you guys have seen like the Illumination adaptation that was made in 2018. I love it so much. It's so good. And I actually maybe even prefer the story to that one a little bit. Just of course, spoilers. The end of it when we see like the Grinch is like just kind of breaking bread with like the Whoville shebang. It's so cute, like it's so lovely and it's just like fuzzy and warm. But I think the original like Jim Carrey version, I just love it. Like it's so iconic. Like the when he's trying to decide what to wear is so iconic. It's so funny and relatable. Or when he's reading out the list of people and he's like, hate, 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 loathe entirely. And I'm like, I relate to this too. I love this guy. And I feel like when you're a kid, you're like, oh, he's so funny because he's so grumpy. When you get older, you're like, yeah, I know where this man's coming from. I love the Grinch. It's so fun. Yeah. I don't know if you guys had that or if you guys want to add anything about the Grinch. Do you guys watch it, or am I just a crazy fan of the Grinch?
I've never seen the Jim Carrey version.
For me, it's like The Room. I had seen so many things about The Room that by the time I eventually watched it, I'd missed about 2 minutes of it.
That's fair.
So I know the story, and I know like there's a bit where his heart grows, or you see his heart like tiny, or yeah. So I know all about it, but I don't think I've ever actually sat down and watched it from start to finish.
I'd say it's worth like one time, doing it one time on a rainy day, snowy day.
I'm more familiar with the original animated version that had Boris Karloff as the Grinch.
Nice.
Because that's a classic Christmas thing. I have seen the Jim Carrey version, and I think it makes excellent use of him, because he is just a comic machine in pretty much everything he's in. So yeah, I have enjoyed it, but I still go. I'm one of those grumpy old schoolers that like, yeah, but it's not as good as the original.
Creature habit.
Yeah.
We've all got our things
I like the animated one as well. Like so I've not seen the Jim Carrey one. I'm never going to go around because there was that kind of like that tiny brief period where they were trying to kind of live action like Dr. Zeus. So they done that Cat in the Hat film, and I'm pretty sure the Cat in the Hat film was out in the cinema when I was working in the cinema, and like the bits I walked in, I was like, this is awful. But like any like the CG animation kind of like, so I like Horton Hears a Who. I really like the animated adaptation of that. So I really like that one, the Illumination one with Benedict Cumberbatch as well. But I may dabble at some point. 'Tis the season, of course. So yep. So yeah, Chloe, unless there's anything else you'd like to add, we can obviously kind of pass on to the next individual in our little Christmas Films Anonymous.
That I'm passing the baton or candy cane to Erin.
So mine isn't. I'm going to be controversial here. It isn't specifically a film, but it's more the story of many films. In fact, I think it's one of the stories that has been told the most throughout the ages, which is A Christmas Carol.
Amazing.
It's very fitting with the Grinch because it's a similar kind of dynamic. You've got Ebenezer Scrooge, who his heart has died pretty much over the years, and then he gets visited by 4 ghosts altogether. Everyone thinks it's 3, but is also visited by his original Jacob Marley, who then tells him about all of the other ghosts. And then he sort of realizes that he's wasted his life pretty much, and he's going to spend the last however many years trying to make amends for it. But I find it interesting because the older I get, the more I feel, especially working in retail, the more I feel akin to Scrooge. Whereas I detest people and Christmas, and people when you're working in retail is the worst thing in the world. But I also hope that everyone has it in them to be a good person. So I can see it from both angles. But my love affair of A Christmas Carol started with the musical Scrooge, which was 1979, I think. And it has Albert Finney in it, who plays Scrooge. And it also has Obi-Wan Kenobi, who plays Jacob Marley. His name escapes me.
Oh, goodness.
So,
That's the one. Yes, he
Is he in
plays.
full Jedi garb as well? Because that would just be like,
Yeah.
I would watch the
Do you
shit.
know? He doesn't, but he wears like a bandage around his head, and it's got like the little. I don't even know why they did that back in the day. I've never felt impelled to tie a bandage around my face. However, that's how he comes out in all of his chains. But it's also a musical, and it has a lot of great numbers like I hate people. People are despicable people. But it's great and I absolutely love it. But anytime I see an adaptation of A Christmas Carol, like Muppets Christmas Carol, the Christmas Carol that also had Jim Carrey in it, which was all CGI'd.
Yeah.
I love them all. I've even seen one, I think it was with the actor that plays Grant Mitchell in EastEnders, and it's like an East End kind of adaptation of Scrooge, and it's got mobsters and stuff. I couldn't even tell you how you would get it or what it was called, but yeah, that is my selection.
Very, very broad and like potentially all-encompassing.
Yes.
So hopefully that doesn't kind of ruin stuff for anybody else. But unless you have anything else, we'll pass on to Mr. D.
She has, in fact, sank my first choice, which was Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Oh.
Now, I acknowledge the Muppet version to be superior to generally all adaptations. Fight me on it. But my favourite version was always Mickey's Christmas Carol with Uncle Scrooge, Scrooge McDuck, playing Jacob Marley, portrayed by Goofy, doing his trademark reality, falls down the stairs. You've got the cast of thousands. You've got the cast of remember the Mr. Toad cartoon that Disney did?
Wind in the Willows.
Yes, it was released alongside their version of Sleepy Hollow, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So you've got Mr. Toad in it as Mr. Fezziwig, the Scrooge's old employer. You've got Ratty and Mole as the two people going around collecting for the poor. And you've got some of the weasels as gravediggers. So just phenomenal Disney animation. Incredibly short as well. It's only about 25 minutes at most. And surprisingly not a musical, unlike many adaptations.
Or Disney films.
Or indeed for Disney. But
Talking animals, though, that's a staple with Disney.
Indeed. But it came out in '83. It's the version I grew up with, so it's the one I love the most.
No way.
I'm going to stick with that because I can't think of any other films. So,
Does Mickey play Bob Cratchit?
Mickey plays Bob Cratchit, yes, and Minnie is his wife, and he's got a couple of other random mice playing his children. Donald Duck is, of course, Scrooge's nephew, the one that's constantly trying to get him to embrace the season, and until he gets thrown out the door.
Who plays the character, the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come?
There's three
Ghost
ghosts.
Of Christmas
I'll tell you all three ghosts. The Ghost of Christmas Past is Jiminy Cricket from Pinocchio.
Oh.
Incredible choice there. Ghost of Christmas Present is Willie the Giant from Mickey and the Beanstalk. He's got this wonderful, funny line where he can't say pistachios. Goes pistachimush with green nuts, and I buckle every time I hear it. And then Ghost of Christmas yet to come is Pete, Goofy's nemesis.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Pete the dog, big guy.
Cool.
But it's it plays it fairly straight, with the exception of like Goofy doing his usual antics and Willie the Giant just being hilarious. For the most part, it's played fairly straightforward, which is a bit of a surprise. They took it quite seriously. But it gets me emotion every time I watch it.
Cool. Well,
That's about
thank you.
it.
Unless you have anything else, I don't want to kind of step on your moment, sir.
No. I've said all I need to say, I think. And, it's on, and since we're plugging streaming services, it's on Disney Plus. So, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we couldn't just let Prime get everything there. This isn't on my list, but I feel that I kind of need to mention it, and because of the Christmas Carol thing. But Scrooged, like, I'm genuinely surprised that nobody mentioned Scrooged. Adaptation, because like I
love Scrooged, but it's not a film I grew up with.
Mm.
So like my choices were specific to like what I associate with the holidays. And while I like Scrooged and my love for Bill Murray knows no limits, it's not a film that was like there for me, you know.
See, I also love Scrooged, and I went to the cinema to see it when it came out back in the day, back when you had a little ticket and someone ripped it in half and then threaded it on a big thing, a big bit of string, and she had like loads of half tickets on it. So this is going back many years. But because I'd seen Scrooge, the film, the musical with Albert Finney and I forgot his name again, Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness.
And that's my absolute favourite. It just
embrace the season.
It doesn't pips out of the post a little bit.
Cool. I mean, I definitely grew up with Scrooge. Like, I watched it when I was probably too young to watch it. It's quite weird because I think it's rated now as a 12, but I'm sure it was a slightly higher rating when I was a kid, because I always thought that the Ghost of kind of Christmas Future scared the shit out of me, especially like when he kind of opens the cloak and like all the kind of spirits are inside. Like,
yeah.
Like I'm way too young to be watching that shit, but I definitely grew up watching that. But
I love the fairy one that just beat the crap out of him.
Carol Kane.
Yeah.
Carol Kane. Yeah. Got a lot of time for Carol Kane. Yeah.
Excellent in it. But cool. Right, I'll get this old candy cane train going again. So my next pick is a action film. Set at Christmas. Written by Shane Black. Oh, he's threw a spanner in the works here. So what could it possibly be? It's late.
It can only be
A Long Kiss Goodnight.
Oh, you got me.
Yeah, exactly. He could have said Lethal Weapon, but he didn't.
That's where I was thinking you were going, and I was on the train.
Yeah.
I was on that train.
Yeah.
Lethal Weapon 3 is set at Christmas, isn't it?
Lethal Weapon 1 is. I don't think any of the fallen ones are.
I thought the
100%.
one with Rennie Russo, where Rennie Russo is his partner, that was Christmassy.
Shaking my head because it definitely isn't set during the year at some random point, but the first one 100% is set.
There's a nice hockey scene in it where Joe Pesci gets shot.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What?
Leo gets shot.
The reason you can't feel anything is because you're on the ice, you're numb, you're okay."
Yeah. But yeah,
it's Lethal Weapon 2, the one with Patsy Kensit and the South Africans.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that I've seen the most.
Just been revoked. But yes, so yeah, I decided to do because I was going to pick an action film anyway, and there is, there's a few different choices to pick from. Obviously, the film that won't be named, almost the Voldemort of Christmas action films that I shan't bring up because I don't want this to turn into that thing. But yeah,
Can I just stop you there? Like, before we joined the stream, I brought up a list of the 100 best Christmas films of all time.
Yeah.
Just in case there was one that I was like, oh no, that was a better choice. And the film that cannot be named is, guess what position?
I'm
Four.
going to go 5.
Out of 100.
I'm going to go 5.
Top 10, definitely.
Yeah.
Because people are just that way.
Oh,
No?
40.
It's
Crack top
number
10?
2.
No, like I said, top 10.
Number 1
You definitely say top 10. I heard it.
is number 1 is It's a Wonderful Life. Number 2 is Die Hard. Number
She
3
mentioned
is Scrooge, but not Mass Scrooge.
Oh.
Anyway,
I might have to go in and edit that because I said I wouldn't name it, and you just blurted it out, Erin. You've ruined everything. You've ruined Christmas. But yes, my festive action film is A Long Kiss Goodnight. So again, written by Shane Black, directed by Rennie Harlan, like back in the day when he didn't kind of, I think it was after Cutthroat Island, so it was kind of like when his career was on the skids. So Rennie Harlan brought us Cliffhanger, which you could technically count as Christmas. There's a shitload of snow in it, so like, you know, if you want to, you know, Christmas if you want. But yeah, so basically, A Long Kiss Goodnight stars Gina Davis, and it is effectively the Bourne Identity, but with a lady. Is probably like the best way to describe it. It's super violent, and as you come to expect for a Shane Black film as well, it's witty and like there's quips kind of flying everywhere and what have you, and it's just completely kind of fun, off the wall kind of action film. And one of these things where like I remember like I was in a pub one night and I saw like some wee bits of credits, and I was like, oh, that's A Long Kiss Goodnight, and people are like, how the fuck do you do that, Mark? And I'm like, that's who I am. So basically, like Gina Davis, like she loses her memory and she's got like a daughter, and when like just prior to her kind of waking up on the beach in the middle of kind of nowhere, like she was 2 months pregnant with a wee lass and stuff, and so she like ends up as a school teacher. It's like no, but then like her amnesia starts to kind of degrade, and she starts to remember who she is, and there's like a fantastic scene where she thinks she's a chef, so she starts cutting these carrots really quickly, and everybody's like, oh my god, this is really cool. And then she kind of flings a tomato up in the air and throws a knife through it, and it hits a wall, and she's just like, chefs do that. It's like, no, they fucking don't. Like, restaurants do it. People worked in hen. But so completely fun and just silly. And also, I can't believe I've never mentioned this already. It's got Samuel L. Jackson in it, and you can't go wrong with a bit of Samuel L. Jackson. Like, to kind of coin Mark's phrase earlier, fight me if you believe that. But like Samuel L. Jackson, the dude. So yeah, as I say, it's very kind of witty. It's got that Shane Black kind of banter that like you're kind of like you're used to. But yeah, like it's fairly obscure, I would say. Like there's because it kind of came and kind of disappeared. I knew for a fact that Mr. D would definitely know it because
of course
it's a kind of film that we know. But I don't know if any of you ladies have kind of ever heard of it, and if you haven't, you totally should. It's good fun.
I've heard of it, but never seen it.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it ever.
I learned from Samuel L. Jackson in that film how to remember that I've locked the door.
Yeah.
Because I sing it to myself in the form of a blues song, and that's how I don't have to like get halfway up the street and then have to turn back to double check that the door's locked.
I love the fact that you like the Long Kiss Goodnight is actually giving you lessons to use in life.
It has. It's the gift that keeps on giving, quite frankly. But yeah, did that come after Cutthroat Island? Because I'm surprised
sure
any of those actors got any work after Cutthroat Island.
Yeah, like I think it was a wee bit like because I was checking the old bit IMDb trivia after I kind of watched it, and apparently kind of fizzled out. Didn't kind of do as well because like obviously people went to see Cutthroat Island and was like, what the fuck is this piece of shit? Or they didn't actually because it bombed like insanely hard.
It did.
The only person who can survive that kind of film is Tom Hanks. But Tom Hanks could do anything and his career will go on and on and on and on.
To be fair, Kevin Costner did survive Waterworld. It just took him a wee bit of kind of time to actually kind of get his feet back and what have you. Kevin Costner, you're funny. because he eventually started doing kind of more dramatic roles.
Imagine surviving the train wreck that is Waterworld just to end up doing the postman later on.
Yeah.
You learn nothing, Costner. You learned nothing.
But then he did star in the fantastic Mr. Brooks, so he gets a pass for that. Not a Christmas film in it by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely worth a check out as well. But yeah, so my choice number 2 is The Long Kiss Goodnight, and I will pass it back to Chloe.
So my number 2 is Gremlins, and I'm so sorry if I've ruined anyone's list. I really love it. I used to get so excited as a kid. I think I've probably maintained the same level of excitement just watching it now. It's just so fun, little critters going around, and I think I reference them every time something goes wrong as well with technology for some reason. I'm like, there's gremlins afoot here. I don't know why. But yeah, I love it so much. Obviously the kitchen scene is iconic as well. It's just hilarious. And I'm trying to think in my head of when you guys because you guys must have grown up when that came out. But for me, I think I came way after that. So I've grown up with it, but I wouldn't have had the same level of excitement, I don't think, as you guys would have. I just love that.
How old is this child you brought into this stream? I
can remember
on the young side. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
We ordered it when there was a video shop in the centre when I lived in Livingston, and I think it was called Rainbow Videos, and we rented it from there. And I can remember we're all sitting around watching it in probably a 18-inch TV, but the bit where his dad brings the box in initially and he lifts the lid and they're all sitting there in the dark and the fire's going and the camera slowly pans towards the box. I can remember being about 8 or something, going like that, to see if I could see in the box.
Oh, that's so cute.
I think chances are we probably all three of us. I think we probably gonna watched it way when we were way too young to watch it because it's still a 15, isn't it?
What? There's no certification of 15 anymore.
Yeah, but it hasn't been kind of downgraded to a 12 or what have you. I'm pretty sure it's still 15 because I think in the States it would have been a PG-13, so they would have kind of got away with it. But it's pretty kind of it's pretty dark and what have you, and obviously a little bit on the violent side, Mrs. Deagle getting one day 90 miles an hour, which always
there's a fair bit of special effect gore going on in it as well.
Yeah.
Billy's
that one where she shoves one of them in the blender.
Yeah.
The microwave.
You know, I don't know what I was watching the other day, but it put me in mind of Mrs. Deagle, and I was like, what a shame for that actress, or for any actor having to be an absolute horrible person in a film, because people that watch these films are stupid and they think that that's what they're actually like.
Yeah.
For Mrs. Deagle.
The guy that kind of played Joffrey in Game of Thrones got death threats. It's he is.
Oh yeah, he had to quit the biz.
Yeah, he's not the character, people. You idiots.
Yeah, your man that plays Peck in Ghostbusters to this day still has people going up to him saying, "You have no dick," and it's like, you leave that man alone. You leave him alone.
But fantastic choice. Chloe, I think we all agree. I don't think there's any of us in this kind of crew that probably dislikes that film.
So.
But
the only thing in that film that just I hate is the story about her dad going up the chimney.
You're so right. It's
the trauma.
I think it's simultaneously grim, but it's also hilarious, especially when they try and replicate it in the sequel. Which is don't talk to me about presidents there. And it seems to imply very heavily that something happened to her that really shouldn't be kind of spoken about in this kind of setting. You're just whoa. But yeah, I love that scene for a couple of reasons, because it's quite obviously it's quite hard hitting, but it comes completely left field. This is a film about wee critters running about and causing carnage, and what have you, and yeah, and she's just like, yeah, he was in the chimney for 3 days before they broke it open. It's just like, fucking hell, man.
Oh my god.
And I'd probably say the most valuable, so the MVP of gremlin killing awesomeness is Billy's mum. Without a shadow of doubt, she dispatches like 4 or 5 without even thinking. One's in the microwave, one goes in the blender. She stabs one to death. Before, like she sprays one in the eyes before putting it in the microwave. It's just like, yeah, she kicks all kinds of arse in that film.
Yes,
so
these gremlins came to the wrong house.
Yeah, damn right they did.
I also love the bit where they go to the cinema and they're watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah.
Hi ho.
So cute. And there's one with like a popcorn bucket on his head.
It's the scene in the bar as well, like the flasher one and what have you. It's just like it's completely
The burglar one.
that in recent years as well. It's another one that people have kind of tried to kind of put the next new Christmas film thing into it. It's like, right, okay, a couple of things. It literally starts with the song Christmas, like Baby Come Home by Darlene Love. And annoyingly, Mark, you're probably going to slap me for this. I literally only realized very recently that the last that sings that song is Trish Martel. Like, I literally did not actually kind of peg that until like I saw the name and I was like, hang on a second. That's Trish Martel. Like, that's the woman, like that she's in Lethal Weapon. How the fuck? And when you hear her sing, I'm like, of course that is. So I feel insanely ashamed that I did not peg that.
I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go.
I'm going to hang my head. It's hanging.
This is your present. I'm letting it go.
Oh, I didn't mean to step on it. Like, is there any other
No.
thing you want to
Chat
kind of
away.
discuss about?
I think the only other thing I'd say is when I was a kid, I pretty much lived on a chicken farm, so we had machinery there. And there's a bit in Gremlins, I think you'll probably remember, where they get a digger and they ride it. So for a while when I was a kid, after Christmas, I kind of go past stuff and I'd be like, you all right? Are you going to move suddenly? Am I safe? So that was the only other little anecdote I was going to add in. That and the bar scene, actually, I think it's just hilarious. Floors me every year. So yeah, I will
have to dig out a copy of that at some point. I haven't seen it for quite a while.
Oh, it's so worth it.
I tend to watch it every year as well. There's just staples.
Remember and peek into the box.
lean forward. Yes. Okay.
Erin embracing
Makes
3D
no difference.
Audience participation. I love it.
All right, well, Chloe, if you've kind of wrapped up your gremlins, we'll move back on to Erin. Erin, your next choice, please.
So my next film isn't traditionally a Christmassy film, but it is set at Christmas.
She's just kind of going left field with everything. I'm going to do the entirety of A Christmas Carol. Haha. So any other adaptations, you guys are screwed. And now it's like, okay, but sorry, I'll shut my face.
So it is set at Christmas and it's called Go. It centres around, it's a lot of different stories all sort of merged together, and it kind of, you see it from everybody's perspective throughout the film. James Van Der Beek's in it and he plays an amazing character. There's also another guy that I recognise, but couldn't tell you what his name is, but they're like a duo and they're a couple of cops that go undercover. It's all about trying to weed out like drugs. So it starts off with a story about a girl who works in a shop and how she gets involved in it, and then it goes into the cops and how they're involved in it, and then it just continues on with the story from different perspectives. But there's a lot of comedy in it. It's incredibly funny. Timothy Oliphant's in it. He's very, very attractive in it. Wears a Santa hat and no shirt most of the time. What else? What else do you need? But it's a very good film and it's definitely worth the watch. It's been several years since I've seen it, but it's very, very good.
I'm completely unfamiliar with this film. So.
Same. Not heard of it before.
I remember like the trailers and stuff. There's Katie Holmes in it as well, isn't she? A bit of a Dawson's Creek kind of reunion. Have you seen Vanderbeek?
No, if she is.
I'm sure she is. Could be.
Is she?
Don't want to say she's the lead.
No, it's
Her in the poster.
no, it's the girl who played Ramona. But you probably won't know who that is. But it was like a TV show called Ramona. But it's not Katie Holmes. But it's fresh out of Dawson's Creek. Dawson Creek.
I'm not checking
I
anything.
remember what her name is. She in it? She's not the main girl though, because she's blonde.
Oh no, Sarah Polley's in it.
Oh,
Katie Holmes is in it. Katie Holmes is actually in it.
Well, there you go.
Drop.
Obviously, she's that rememberable in it, but she's not the main girl in it. She might be the pal of the main girl.
So I did see Sarah Polley was in it as well. So Sarah Polley's the last that is in the Dawn of the Dead remake. She plays like.
Yeah, I think that's the main chick.
I like Sarah.
But yeah, very good film. You should all watch it. Don't know where it's streaming.
I didn't even mention where mine was streaming because like both my films so far like I currently own, so I just watched them on Blu. You can buy Blu-rays at like Amazon and whatever store. Like
You're so old school, Mark.
Well, yeah, because then like if they ever drop off streaming services, I'm there like, oh no, what am I going? Oh no, hang on, I'll just pick up my copy and just wait.
I had from working in HMV for about 3 years, I had a massive DVD selection and I kept moving them from house to house to house, and I don't think I watched any of them through all of these moves. So I thought I'll get some of these big wallets that you put all the DVDs in and then just get rid of the cases. Much easier transport. And you weren't very happy with that, were you, Mark?
No. I mean, to be fair, like this room and several other rooms in this kind of flat are kind of filled with DVDs and Blu-ray. Yeah, fuck. It is a pain in the arse, don't get me wrong, when I want to kind of find a particular film. That is a pain. Or like if me and Evonne are like, what film will we watch? And then we decide, we're like, right, okay, we'll watch that. And we're like, where the fuck is So it's like the scene at the end of Raiders where like they're kind of pushing the ark into the kind of warehouse. That's my DVD collection. Probably the best way to describe it. But yeah. Erin, unless there's anything else you wish to impart about Go, we can kind of pass the torch.
We can go on to Mr. D.
Mr. D, sir, please regale us.
Selection number 2, an absolute classic of the holiday season, has to be 1989's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Because it's so funny. I maybe wouldn't say it's as funny as like the original Vacation film, which I think has a bit more comedy to it, but it's still just a classic holiday nightmare film. The particular highlights are them trying to say grace. The turkey just explodes into this over-dried carcass, and they're all sitting going, trying to chew it. It's so funny. The senile Anne starts saying the Pledge of Allegiance instead of Grace.
Cousin Eddie's wife is like, I told you I had it too long. And everyone's like, no, it's lovely.
No, it's fine. It's just a little dry. The sledding scene where he's on the metal disc and it's been polished too much, and Cousin Eddie holds it up later and you can see right through it. The Santa Claus getting launched into the sky at the end, and the aunt starts singing the Star Spangled Banner instead of a Christmas song, and it's just like, yeah, we're just rolling with it.
They kidnap Bill Murray's brother.
They kidnap Bill Murray's brother and try to show him the error of his ways. So this is another film I grew up with. Like, we had it on VHS. Chloe, I know you don't know what that is. It's all right.
I used them all the time. I'm not that young.
We had them.
I'm clinging on.
So it was just something that got trotted out every year. Not quite as a family to watch because it's a bit risky for younger viewers, particularly when you were my age trying to watch it, and you had to be quite sneaky about it. But so the lingerie counter girl, yes. The scene with the pool,
you're
yes.
talking about when I don't know what it is about Clark Griswold. Like, he's a very happily married man, and
He has an amazing wife, like Beverly D'Angelo, I believe it was. Stunning human being, tolerates all the shenanigans he comes up with to ruin their lives, and yet she's still with him. She's still clearly attracted to him, and it's like, why are you constantly sniffing around these other women? Like, what is wrong with you, Chevy Chase?
Yeah,
I mean, as we discovered later, there's a lot wrong with Chevy Chase, but I'm specifically speaking to 80s Chevy Chase. He was not an unattractive man in his day, but at the same time, it's like, what you doing? Like, she's amazing, you know. And of course, the children are played by different actors in every film, which gets referenced in this one when he says, "I barely recognise you." And they just pause and look at the camera for a second, you know. It's young Johnny Galecki and young Juliette Lewis.
Yeah, Juliette Lewis.
Johnny Galecki of
I
Roseanne
like it
and
when
Big
they go out
Bang
to
Theory.
get the tree, and her eyes are like frozen.
Yeah.
And then it's like, whoa! Did you bring the axe? No.
So they're just driving along with this massive tree with all of its roots still attached to it, and I was watching it the other day. I rented it on Amazon Prime, and I was like, how did they get the tree out of the ground?
With their bare hands.
Their bare hands. They dug in the frozen soil with their bare hands. But yeah, fantastic cast. Yeah. Fantastic cast.
My favourite,
so funny.
My favourite scene from that is the attic scene. Got to be the attic scene where he's freezing, so he puts on like the fur coat,
just random clothes. He's sitting watching the film reel. Yeah.
And he's like crying, watching like his mum and the presents and Christmas past, and then he just pulls the attic thing and he collapses. Oh, so funny. But the mother of Beverly D'Angelo, I think she was the mother that was in Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yes.
No idea what her name is.
I never watched it. I didn't really kind of rate that show. I was like, nah. Everybody does not love Raymond, and I'm definitely in that kind of crew.
Everybody.
I mean,
but
to be fair,
very
few people loved him in the TV show as well. Like the rest of the cast didn't really think much of him. But Peter Boyle was her husband, and I love me some Peter Boyle because Young Frankenstein, obviously. So like, he gets up. Put on the Reds.
So probably going to shock you, both Erin and Mr. D. I've not seen Christmas Vacation.
Really?
Have you seen any of the vacation films?
I don't think so. No. No. Sorry, no. I tell a lie. I've seen the kind of pseudo remake.
Oh, just Vacation with Ed
that.
Helms. Right.
The one with Ed Helms.
Yeah, which was.
I didn't bother with it.
It was.
For me, there's a place in my heart for the vacation films. It's again a children's film. A film I watched as a child.
when you were a last.
Yeah.
But
the first.
I've seen the first one. The first one's brilliant, where they all get on the car to travel all across America. I don't know why Americans think, let's drive across America. I couldn't imagine anything worse. However, that's full of calamities. They pick up the auntie, she dies. They have the auntie's dog. They tie him to the back bumper.
If he gets to put the dog back in the car.
Yep.
And the cop stops him and threatening him. Yeah. If there's any justice, I'd just beat you senseless right now.
Money. By the time they get to Wally World, it's shut.
Oh,
And
Like I knew that.
they
but,
have
like,
to
no, vaguely.
they have to like
John
kidnap the
Candy's
guards.
John
go on
Candy's
yeah.
the security guard that they essentially kidnap,
Well,
forced him to go on all the rides with him.
Like, I'm gonna have to dig that out if John Candy's in it. Because
It's on Amazon Prime for free. Yeah, part of your Prime package.
As
Abs-
all on Amazon
Absolutely
Prime.
worth a giggle. And again, Chevy
Yeah.
Chase goes chasing another woman.
Yep.
Who is definitely not as
In the pool.
attractive as Beverly D'Angelo, quite frankly. She's definitely not.
Number 2, new films. They win a competition that takes them to Europe. Again, a lot of hilarity. Eric Idle's in it, and there's a bit because I don't know if you remember, Mark, but remember when I got hit by a van and I sort of got up and hobbling off, gone, I'm fine. That is perfectly portrayed in Vacation 2, where they run over Eric Idle, and they're like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And he's on a bike, and he's like, "No, I'm fine, just a flesh wound." And they're like, "All right, can you point us to this place?" And he goes, "It's over there." And as he does that, some blood squirts out from his veins. And the completely British thing to do. "I'm fine, it's okay. I've got another one." But again, absolutely hilarious. And again, it goes off after some other women. In fact, I think they fall out in that one, don't they? And she goes off with another man. However,
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
very, very funny. And even the last one, because I hold such a love for the vacation films, I even enjoyed the last one as well. I especially love it when Chris Hemsworth comes in with his giant schlong and just stands with his foot up on the bed with his giant cock, and he's like, "He was just in here to show off his abs." But obviously love Chris Hemsworth as well. But yeah, I will never hear bad words said against the vacation films. See, National Lampoons, on the other hand, has a reputation of being a really sort of cheesy, crass comedy.
I think it depends on which era you're watching, because like there are some great films in the series, like stuff like Animal House, for example. Fantastic. When you get to like the late 90s, 2000s era, where they were doing stuff like European trip or road trip or whatever it was, college trip I think it was, that's when everything starts to kind of lose me quite a bit, because it's like you've lost all these classic actors, like really famous comedic actors that were involved in them, from like Saturday Night Live and other things like that, and it's just not funny anymore. But you go back far enough to like the late 70s, 80s period, where everything was just better anyway.
I might like one of the.
I say as I shake my fist at young people.
I might like one of the
ruined everything.
The family. I really like Loaded Weapon 1. Like the Lethal Weapon send up one with Samuel L. Jackson and Emilio Estevez. That I quite like that one. I
like it for Tim Curry dressed as a
schoolgirl,
Girl Scout.
Girl Scout.
Wilderness girls.
Yeah, it's insanely stupid, and you go Bruce Willis in his trailer, and it gets kind of blown up, and he's got the Die Hard vest on, and everything. He's like, "No, 142 Pacific Coast Highway. That's that way." Like, and he's just like go back.
Sorry.
Kind of douche, but yeah, I've got a bit of a soft spot for Loaded Weapon 1. So.
Yeah, no, that was funny. That was funny.
But yeah, thank you very much, Mr. D. We'll keep going. So, me for my third choice, I just kind of watched before I kind of phoned in, is something that I think is quite underrated. Now we'd already I think, mentioned Aardman before we start recording. So Aardman, like in general, and this isn't actually my choice, but I'm going to mention just in general because I think I'm not the only one as well. But the Wallace and Gromit films were always on at Christmas, and therefore they are a Christmas staple for me. And so and I love them. And as soon as I can obviously watch them when I was a kind of kid, like anything Aardman ever kind of released after that, like I was all over. And then they kind of started kind of veering into CG animated territory, and I was like, oh, I don't know, but I quite enjoyed Flushed Away as well. So my next choice is another CG animated one, which I don't think gets anywhere near as much attention or love as it probably should, but it's Arthur Christmas, which came out, I think, possibly in the last, like, I want to say 5 years. Is it? Like, it's not that old a film.
I think it's a bit longer than that.
Potentially, yeah. So I think
Let's see.
yeah. So Erin will do the research while I start kind of like gushing over this film. But so Arthur Christmas, it kind of posits that like they're like the Christmas kind of family, so Saint Nick and whatever, like they're all descendants of like, you know, of the original Saint Nick kind of thing, and then they just keep kind of passing the kind of baton into kind of like, you know, the next kind of ones in the chain and stuff. And so this kind of kicks off, and it's got this fantastic scene at the start whereby instead of like Santa going down the chimney, there's all these elves that are kind of like done in this kind of big military kind of deal whereby like, you know, like, okay, and ho ho ho, and they all kind of like sliding through windows or cutting like, you know, like vents open, and like, you know, parallel kind of like walking over walls because like people are up watching TV and stuff. And yeah, it's just it just kind of does the kind of Christmas kind of thing in such a fantastic way, and it's animated really kind of sweetly and what have you. And so like you go, Arthur Christmas is played by James McAvoy. You've got his brother Steve, who's played by Hugh Laurie. You've got like the current Santa played by Jim Broadbent, and like the like grand Santa, so like the granddad of the kind of group is played by Bill Nighy as well. So like it's stellar kind of British cast right across the board. But it's like the whole thing kind of like essentially kicks off when one of the kind of kids presents is essentially kind of left out. So like it accidentally kind of gets knocked down like the back of like a grate somewhere and is found later, and everybody's like, oh, you forgot a kid, and everybody's like, ah, but like nobody gives a shit apart from Arthur. So like they go on this big kind of like this big trip to obviously get the present to his last, because obviously like she'll be the only like last without a present and stuff like that. But
no child left behind.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's just it's quite unique. It's really kind of sweet. It's like it's animated brilliantly, and as I say, it's like it's actually literally the whole thing is worth it for that, like that military grade operation with the elves delivering all the presents like at the start of the kind of film. It's just like, right, okay, this is how they done it, and it's quite believable. Like I think it like if you're a kid, for example, like it's quite kind of believable in that kind of, like you could totally like show this to like kids and be like, well, this is how they obviously they kind of date and stuff like that. So I like that a bit as well. Like obviously, spoiler alert, like I obviously don't believe in Santa. Like I'm old enough to know now, but I'm just saying, like I think if I'd watched this film as a kid, I would have bought into this like hook, line, and sinker, and I totally love that a bit. It's just it says Aardman as well. Like as far as I'm concerned, can do no wrong. Like I will watch anything that's got their kind of stamp on it. I'm like, yep, okay, shut up and take my money. And so me and Evonne, we went to the cinema to see this and everything because it was them as well. And yeah, I love it. Love it. So if you haven't seen it, definitely worth a shout. It's a great wee animated film. Just shy of 2 hours as well. So like it's not completely and utterly kind of out with like time constraints and what have you. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. That's what, like, again, I watch my copy because I own it, because I need to own it. I medically needed to own it. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely worth a bash.
2011.
Ah, right, okay, so
It's good.
Yeah.
I watched it for the first time last year and immediately fell in love with it. I really love that film, actually. I highly recommend it too. I totally agree about how believable it is from a child point of view. It really sucks you in. It's great.
See, I always said if I had kids that only one present would be from Santa, which makes sense when you see all of the media in the films. But when I was growing up, my mum never gave me a present when I was little. Everything was from Santa or my family or the family friends. Nothing was ever from my mum and dad. And I was always like, my mum doesn't like me at Christmas. So I always said that if I had kids, they would get one present from Santa and then everything else would be from mum and dad or whoever. That way that when it comes time for them to not believe in Santa anymore, then it wouldn't be such a wrench.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Yeah, I'm very for the one present from Santa. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And also, like every film that's ever been made with Santa, it only delivers one present. So having a room full of presents, all from Santa, doesn't make any sense.
I mean, even Nightmare Before Christmas, when Jack's being Santa, like he pretty much only delivers a present per kid as well.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough, they're big giant ass fucking snakes that eat shit and stuff, but still, like, you know, it's one snake. So yeah, that makes sense to me as well. But yeah, that's my recommendation. Obviously, there's a few folks that have seen it, but definitely worth a shout. It's just, as I say, it's just this lovely wee film, and quite unique. It doesn't kind of like completely kind of piss over the whole like Santa thing. It makes it, as I say, as believable as it can do. So it is definitely, as I say, accessible to kids as well. And I just like I like that idea, kind of like if you sat away and didn't to watch it, they'd be like, this is totally what happens. So yeah. But anyway, I will shush, and again I will pass the candy cane on to Chloe.
So my top spot was kind of knocked off because Erin's all-encompassing Christmas Carol. But so my first one was going to be Muppet Christmas Carol, because I'm just absolutely literally obsessed with it. Like, we were making jokes earlier about, like, you know, who watches Christmas movies in the summer, and I'm like, I used to literally sit and watch that in the summer sometimes. It's so comforting. It's like the equivalent of a warm bowl of soup on a cold day. I love it so much. I was watching it yesterday actually. I didn't need to in preparation for this, but I was just like, I've got an excuse, I'll just watch it again. I love it so much. So I think I'll stick with that one because I was like, I've got my backup, but it's just not as good. And I've got a couple of facts about it that maybe people won't know that might be interesting. I'm not sure. So I'll pad out those. So I think a lot of us will probably know that it was actually the first Muppet film that was made without Jim Henson. And it was Brian Henson, his son's director's debut, which is just remarkable. And I think it really like solidifies the warmth and the love that you do see in that film. Like I feel a lot of love from that film, especially the end. It's just so warm and fuzzy and nice. And obviously the songs are all amazing. But I really, really want to hear your opinions on When Love Is Gone, because obviously it got cut from a lot of the releases, and I believe quite rightly, because when I was a kid I used to just want to fall asleep or like have a nap for like 2 or 3 minutes. And I think what they did with the snip, that's a very tender word I shouldn't use in the wild, sorry, when they cut it, I don't know. I didn't think it lost anything, but I'd love to hear what you guys think about that song. I know there's other songs too, but that's, I think, one of the more famous ones that were cut out.
I'm always furious when something gets cut from a film where I've seen the original.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember that song quite fondly. I quite liked the song at the time, and it makes sense to keep it in because there's a reprisal at the end. And if you haven't seen like the uncut, the version that has that song in it, you're kind of like, what the hell are they singing now? Like, because it sounds like a reprisal. It doesn't sound like a brand new song that they're just throwing out there. It sounds like it's like a cut lyric from a different song, and you're just kind of like, what's going on? Did I miss it? And it's like the first time I watched it where that song had been cut, I had to rewind it back because I was like, hang on. I've missed something. I know I've missed something. And it was gone, and I was like, what? So I went to the internet and was furious to discover, for whatever reason, they had cut it from various releases. I am pleased to note that they have reinserted it.
Yes.
And that there's a Christmas Carol concert coming up on Disney Plus. Again, pimping Disney Plus. I don't know if it's already been or if it's still to come, but they will be reinserting that particular song because they've made it like a point of advertising that it's going to be there.
I just don't understand why usually things get cut because they're controversial.
Yeah,
And
like
with this, it's like there's no controversy here whatsoever.
It's
This
like
is-
it's a whole ass song. You know, it's not like you had to trim a couple of seconds off a scene here and there for time constraints or to try and help the flow of the film. It's a song right in the middle of the movie, quite a long one, and you just yanked it right out, the whole kit and caboodle. And and it's like there are kids that have grown up that have never known that there's a whole song missing from this film, and it's like, no, because now they're going to look at me like I'm crazy when I point at the screen going, it's missing! It's missing!
Well, I mean, after they do that on Plus, mate, you'll be fine. Like,
No, everywhere. I walk into restaurants and shout, they took the song! They took the song!
so I only seen the film in the last few years. So like I'd say like the last 10 years. Like I'm like not that far, but and I always meant to see it because like I remember there was trailers in it for the in the cinema way back when. But like when I'd done cinema when I was a kid, it was it was birthdays and pretty much that it. Like I didn't kind of see. I seen most of my films on kind of VHS when I were a lad, and so like I never got around to kind of see Muppet Christmas Carol until like a few years back, and so I've never known the pain of losing that song. But like I do remember that obviously like there's like the bit a bit later on in the film, and I was like I don't remember them singing that in it, but like I just thought it was just like this wee extra thing, so I didn't really kind of like like peg, and then it was a friend of mine, James, who basically was like, oh, there's a whole song missing. I was like, oh, what is he talking about? Like, what are you talking about? And like yeah, I looked up,
Shut
and
up,
like,
James.
oh yeah, but like obviously kind of watching it now, like I notice the kind of cut because it looks like it is building up to something because it happens. It's when he's in the past and he's obviously kind of he's kind of his soon to be misses, and then obviously goes like tits up, and then obviously he's quite kind of emotional after that kind of like that wee kind of missing thing. And you're just like, what's happened? What
It's because he falls in love with gold, but gold only gives it coldness back, doesn't give love.
So
I know it can on occasion buy you temporary love,
But for a couple of hours.
some negotiable affection, if you will.
don't do the gold
Non-negotiable
part,
as the
there you
case
go.
may be. Yeah.
So yeah,
We don't know how Scrooge spent his years after that particular incident. You know, he might have been all right. Just saying.
a bit to get quite dark in our festive fun. Way beyond PG-13. But I never knew that song existed until James was like, man, I was like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, but yeah, so. But yeah, I'll agree. It is a very fine film.
Yeah, it's so good. Like it was cut out because they had a control group of kids, and they responded very negatively for some reason to that song, and that was the only reason why they kind of took it out. Like it just like their complete attention span is apparently just gone.
Yeah.
Apparently,
I think it's because like
it's very different to the rest of the film.
It's a very adult song. I don't mean in terms of like like he starts stripping off or anything. It's adult because you have to have gone through like a really depressing bad breakup in order to get what they're talking about, like the love that you missed, the life that could have been kind of thing. And it's like a little 5-year-old's looking at that going, I have no idea what the context here is. Bring back the Muppets. Bring back the Muppets. So like I get it from a kid's point of view. It makes no sense contextually because they have no idea what's going on. But like an adult looking at it's going, yeah, yeah. Bring back the Muppets, please,
It's a cautionary
quickly.
tale, though. And it's a cautionary tale that's been told over and over and over again in other films that are nothing to do with the Christmas Carol about the man being the breadwinner and trying to provide for the family by being a workaholic, and then the wife suffering as a result of that. Because she can't see her husband and the children can't see their dad.
Yeah. In fairness, in Mickey's Christmas Carol, like there's no like hint about it. Doesn't go into any regrets about it. He actually forecloses the mortgage on our honeymoon house, and it's like that's even darker. What the hell? What the hell, Scrooge? And he just sends her on her way, and he doesn't think twice about it. It's like, all right,
La, la, la,
cheers.
La, la, la.
Yeah. and this is why Christmas depresses me. Yes.
So I mean, Chloe, if you're all good to explain Muppet Christmas Carol.
Have any other facts?
There's only one more fact I was going to say was so the Ghost of Christmas Past. Obviously, like when you see the Muppet puppet, if you will, it's obviously the movements of it are very interesting, and as a kid it really captivated me and kind of freaked me out a bit, and I only recently discovered it's like all floaty and stuff, and I'm like, why is it like that? It's so creepy. And it's because originally they shot its sort of bits in baby oil. They put the Muppet in baby oil in a tank, and that's why it has that effect. And I thought that was very, very interesting. Then it got a bit too costly for the company to do that, so they swapped out with water. And so actually the dyes on the fabric of the Muppet didn't really react fantastically, but they managed to get the footage that they needed. So I suppose that's why it does have that very haunting like element to it. And I never realised that's why. I had no idea how they did that, so I just kind of thought it was a bit interesting. Yeah. And that's it from this one.
Apparently, in one of the versions that I've seen or read or whatever, the ghost of Christmas Past is supposed to be his sister who died.
Oh, cool. Oh, wow.
I think his sister was, I want to say his sister was called Fanny. But
which was a very Victorian name. You just kind of have to let that slide. If you want to be able to take anything seriously again, it's a very different naming convention.
It's not canon because it could be in the original story. It could be made up because she did grow to have a child eventually, but I can't remember what happened to her after that.
That's so interesting.
But yeah, a lot of things are saying that was his sister.
Oh, I never knew that.
And is there not something about a candle? I can't remember. Something about the flame of the candle. I'll have to watch it again.
Yeah, have to. Like,
it's never a bad thing.
Well, that's it for me. I will pass the candy cane on.
Thank you very much.
So I'm going to be controversial.
Shock.
I'm just going to have some honourable mentions because I've been sitting here thinking, what would I have as my top film? And then I was like, do you know what? There's so many. I have a lot of traditions with Christmas. Like I watch Only Fools and Horses, because to me that is a very Christmas. I watch Wallace and Gromit, my favourite being The Wrong Trousers. I love Feathers McGraw, one of the best characters ever made. There's also a couple of films that I'll watch every year without fail, one of them being Four Christmases with Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaughn. Find it hilarious. But it's one of my junk food films, so I wouldn't put it up as the best Christmas film ever. Another one, Christmas with the Cranks, with Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis. Again, hilarious. Absolutely love watching that. White Christmas with Bing Crosby. Another very, very, very good film. But yeah, those are my honourable mentions. But every year, without fail, I will watch these. I'll also try and stick in some new films. This year, I have already watched 8-Bit Christmas, which is very good, with Neil Patrick Harris, recounting when he was trying to get a Super Nintendo when he was a child. And it's very 80s. and
Nothing wrong with that.
they've done it pretty well. But yeah, I don't know what other films that I'm going to watch this year. I might watch Last Christmas again. Quite enjoyed that because of all the wham that was in it. However, when I did go and see it at the cinema, I did it as a double bill, but I can't remember what the other film was. The film's set in 2016, which was an awful year for celebrities and beloved celebrities. Didn't round off with George Michael dying. It rounded off with Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds dying. But the film is set in this year, and I was like, see if it gets to the end of the year and they bring up that George Michael is dead. I'm leaving. So that was always in the back of my mind. I was like, this is 2016 and she's obsessed with Wham. Oh no. What's gonna happen?
Dedicated to the memory of George Michael.
Yeah. Still hurts. But yeah, I think the thing for me that makes something Christmassy is the music by far. It could be any music. It could be like the choral music. Choral? Anyway.
Sure. Choir music.
The choir music, yeah. And like the hits, and I just love hearing Christmas music. Like when I've been in my car for the last few days, I've been pumping out the Christmas tunes. I love it. Christmas for me starts on the 1st of December, and then I fit all of these little traditions in, starting with the German market. But yeah. So those are my honourable mentions.
I hate Christmas music with a passion. So every year I have a playlist saved on YouTube called Alternate Christmas Carols, and most of them are done by the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society. So it's got all these variations on Christmas themes, but with absolute cosmic horror as the topic. Let's try to see if I can get the list here, and I'll give you an example.
As you're looking up your list, I don't think the shop exists anymore, but like there's like a frozen yogurt like shop that just like next to where like the Revolution.
Friskies.
Yeah, Friskies. And so me and my friends, we kind of went in there, like if we'd kind of been to the pub, we'd had something to eat, and so we went in there kind of for like dessert afterwards, and we're sitting there and we're eating, and then like Christmas music comes on. However, this was Christmas music with a bit of a twist. It was cats singing Christmas music. So it was like, well, like they
you would have loved that, Mark.
So at first I was just like, so I went up to the lass. I was like, I'm sorry, but can you tell me what the hell this? Like, actually, like I say, what the hell this is? She's like, oh, it's
so I can find it and subscribe.
Christmas. And she's like, do you want me to turn it off? I was like, no, because it's very great, and if you ever look it up, it's very kind of like, oh, but at the same time, there's something just kind of like fun about it, but like it was just so weird and completely out of nowhere. But Meowie Christmas, definitely worth it. I've got a T-shirt that says Meowie Christmas. It wasn't even like deliberate or what have you, but I'm now going to count that as my tribute to Christmas. But yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
The alternative Christmas carols, you may wish to listen to it sometime. All I Want for Solstice is My Sanity. Do You Fear What I Fear? Here Comes Yog-Sothoth. Oh Come All Ye Old Ones. Away in a Madhouse. I'm Dreaming of a Dead City. And who can forget the classic I Saw a Mummy Kissing Yog-Sothoth?
Oh, that's really good.
We Wish You a Scary Solstice, Hail Great Old One, so on and so forth. Yeah, fantastic stuff in it. It keeps me sane during the Christmas period.
Definitely that list. I'd definitely say, Do You Fear What I Fear? Like that just sounds like, yeah, well,
Do you fear what I fear?
Or voice as deep as the sea. Love it. Absolutely love it.
So obviously Erin's kind of wrapped up our honourable mention. So we're back to you, Mr. D, with your final choice. Just to clarify as well, I at no point were any of these like my favourite kind of top films. They were ones I was like, you know what, I'm going to pick some kind of fairly random ones. So I've definitely got top ones like that. I make sure I watch every year, but because I didn't know if that's what folks were obviously doing. Because Chloe was like, no, my top film, Muppet Christmas Carol. I was like, I never done that. Like I just done. So,
I'm off the rails. Sorry.
no, you're fine. Like there was no script to this. That's what they. But yeah, I'll pass on to Mr. D for his final potentially top choice. I don't know if it's a top choice or if it's just a random. I don't know.
For me, it certainly is a top choice, and it is 1993's The Nightmare Before Christmas, or Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. Because how can you not? You know, like it's just what wonderful music, wonderful character designs, like the trick-or-treaters there. Fantastic voice work. Love the animation. He's been chasing that success that he had with that for a little while. He tried it with The Corpse Bride, and it wasn't quite the same. Coraline again, not quite the same, but still
both fantastic though.
Not bad at all, but none of them are the timeless classic that is The Nightmare Before Christmas. And it resonates especially for me because I had a friend in high school who was absolutely obsessed with Tim Burton in general, but specifically this film. And she named our little social circle after each of the characters, and I was at the Geek Waffle because of course I was. I've often looked like I'm just a dancing burlap sack full of insects, but yeah, it's all good. But it's a special film for me. Just really kind of captures the holiday spirit as well. I feel, about learning a lesson and spending time with loved ones, that kind of thing. And just again, fantastic music. And I'm looking forward to Danny Elfman's little concert that he's going to be doing, where he just goes through the whole catalogue.
Oh, nice.
See, I was just going to say, I was fortunate enough a couple of years ago to go and see A Nightmare Before Christmas live. And it had the guy who played Oogie Boogie, the Catherine O'Hara, and Danny Elfman as well. And it was just amazing. So they showed the film. It was in the Hydro, and they showed the film. And then when the songs were on, they would all sing the songs. And the guy who played Oogie Boogie, absolutely everybody loved him.
Yeah.
And right at the end of it, Danny Elfman went, okay, I'm just going to finish on one song. And he sung that song, and everyone was like, you what? Because the guy
go home,
who
Danny,
played
you're
Oogie
drunk.
Boogie absolutely nailed it, like destroyed it. And then Danny Elfman done it, and we were like, can we go?
Okay, kids, remember where we're parked. Let's go.
Get your coats. But it was amazing.
I think recently, so Henry Selick came out and because obviously again this is another one of these kind of films that's got that kind of is it a Christmas film thing? Now I can't actually like even remotely can understand where your argument would come from whereby the film is called The Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, what are you talking about? It's got Christmas in the fucking title. It essentially
Santa Claus is literally in this film.
Yep. Yeah, and it's it is obviously
when he has to save Christmas.
Them in Halloween Town, effectively heisting Christmas. It's like this is ours now kind of thing. So and even Henry Selick's coming is like it's a Halloween film. It's like, dude, you need slapped. And I love Henry Selick.
Do you know?
I don't think
people that have this argument just fuck off, eh?
Yeah.
Just get a hobby.
Just
go and leave us in peace.
Take your head.
I really like
in the sand.
Yeah.
Treasure Island. That's my favourite Christmas film, and fuck yous if you don't like it.
But yeah, like I said,
this is another one of these. I will fight you on this if you want. If you want to throw down,
No, because you're right. But again, as I say, I've said like right at the start, it doesn't matter whether or not the film's set at Christmas or whatever. I'd no judgments at all. If a film or a TV program or what have you gives you Christmassy feelings, because a few of the things I was actually going to include Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and it wasn't because it's quite clearly not a Christmas film in any stretch of the imagination. But back in the day, I remember when we had to get we get the TV kind of guide, and I'd flip, I was like, oh, what film's on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, and that would usually be a staple. It would either be on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, or Boxing Day. It'd be one of the three, and so that.
Back when you only had 4 or 5 channels to pick from,
way back in the day when but that's a film that resonates around about Christmas for me. There's a few that do, and as I say, so this whole is it a Christmas film? Is it no Christmas film? It's just bullshit to me. It's if it gives you Christmassy feelings, then fine. Because another one of the Edward Scissorhands, is not even remotely set at Christmas. But the fact that it's essentially established that he's the creator of snow in that kind of film is kind of what makes it kind of Christmassy for me as well. So again, I'm quite happy to watch that around about kind of Christmas as well. So this
Princess Bride.
Yeah.
When we saw that in the cinema, I identified that as a Christmas film.
Yeah, but again,
because he has a Santa hanging up on his wardrobe.
But yeah,
confirmed.
But again, because the film that we weren't supposed to mention, but Erin did, that's obviously it's this thing that comes around every year. Is it? Who cares at this point? If you like watching it at Christmas, then who cares? Just you enjoy it. If some wee pleb in the corner is like, Christmas film, tell him to go fuck himself, and you go and watch it anyway.
Isn't the opening rap song literally about Christmas?
Yep.
Santa and his reindeer or something.
Yep.
That's your argument is invalid.
During a Christmas party, there's Christmas hats during it. It's just it's one of these things where you're just shut up, who cares? But
I've thought of another honourable mention. Trading Places.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Obviously with the great Dan Aykroyd, the great Eddie Murphy, and Jamie. Jamie Lee Curtis.
I got
my brain. A drunk Dan Aykroyd dressed up as Santa at the buffet feeding himself, and then he puts the fish, and it's just gross but wonderful all at the same time. Wonderful.
That film, unfortunately, I love that film. Again, it's one that I'm quite happy to put on around about this time of year as well. But it does actually now feature a very controversial kind of scene whereby Dan Aykroyd is a Jamaican. So it's so
this is the great problem of being a millennial.
Yeah.
When you start to realise that many of the things you loved growing up are now problematic.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that we shouldn't have, a review of these things, or anything like that. I'm just saying that as millennials, this is the rite of passage that we have to go through just now, where we look back at our childhoods and go, oh man, that was kind of racist. Oh, that does not portray anyone in a good light. Oh, shit. And you just kind of have to. You have to acknowledge it. You can't hide from it. You can't say, "Oh, that was just a different time." You just say, "Look, it happened. It's part of it. Nobody's proud of it. These aspects of it. But you know what?
Let's
we're not
learn
getting a damn film,
from it.
right?
Yeah.
It won't ever happen again. But we're going to keep this film because we're millennials and we don't have much else to live for. Okay, so just give us our nostalgia and just let it go."
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll mention a couple of honourable mentions as well, because in case anybody cares. So ones that I haven't watched yet, but again, fairly kind of obscure ones off the top of my head. So I'm going to go for another couple of horrors as well, because I like when there's obviously Christmas action films notwithstanding. Obviously we've mentioned them, but and obviously one of my picks was a zombie kind of musical. But Krampus, the very recent one.
I love Krampus.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed that. I think I watched it as, come on, let's watch this shite. And then I was like, actually, it's not that bad.
It's insanely self-aware. Like, it's no insanely scary, but like, I'd say it's very kind of funny.
No.
You got Toni Collette, you got Adam Scott in it as well, and it's just like okay.
I wouldn't have put them two together though. I would never have. My brain just can't cope with them as a couple.
Would you have preferred Amy Poehler?
No, I think I would have preferred someone like Jennifer Aniston in it. And Mark and I, Mr. D and I were talking the other day about Krampus, and I was like, who's in it? Who's in it again? And my brain was just like Jennifer Aniston and that guy that's in Parks and Rec. Adam Driver, that's who it is.
No, it's Adam.
My brain.
Adam Driver. He's Kylo Ren, but it's cool.
I know.
Jennifer Aniston's brief foray into horror occurred in the 90s when it was Leprechaun, when she was
Leprechaun.
Which I haven't
with the amazing Warwick Davis. You must, Mr. B, my friend, you must simply partake of Leprechaun. Just the first one.
You need to have like a brandy or something and a cigar.
A brandy and a cigar. You simply must.
I mean, I don't
must enjoy it.
It's utterly ridiculous, but you know what? Warwick Davis is having the time of his life, just being this horrible little monster. And he gets to grab Jennifer Aniston by the ankle and bite her, and it's like that's a highlight of anybody's career, quite frankly. But he's clearly having a great time, and you know what? I can forgive a lot of bad films if it's clear that the actor or actors are actually just enjoying themselves for the sake of it. Like the film can be absolute mince, but see if it looks like you're actually enjoying yourself and not thinking about how bad this is going to tank your career, or like why didn't I just continue on the stage? Why did I have to try and break into Hollywood? Just having a good time
for a month.
Yeah. Go back to having ramen for every meal. It's okay, but as long as it looks like they're enjoying themselves, I will forgive any terrible film.
Yeah. No,
Was this before or after Willow?
Oh, after Willow was.
80s,
Well, not the 80s, 88, something like that.
Ish, give or take.
Yes. So, like, Warwick Davis's career didn't really take off. Like Willow was his big film, and then he got the Leprechaun series. But it's mostly just been like those are the two, plus all these Star Wars appearances. But like Willow was like. Willow and Leprechaun are these two big, starring Warwick Davis, credits. And it's a damn shame because the man looks like he's a lot of fun to hang out with, so I'd watch him in other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only other honourable kind of mention I'll mention, try saying that 3 times real fast, is You Better Watch Out, I think it's called. Actually, I've got another honourable mention I'm going to mention after this, but You Better Watch Out is effectively Home Alone but violent. It's probably the best way I can describe it. I don't really say too much. I think you just go in kind of quite blind.
And that's saying a lot because Home Alone's a violent film.
Yeah.
Like, what he does to those, I'm not condoning or condemning one way or the other. Like, you break into this kid's house, you deserve something. But, there comes a point where, just kill them. It would have been kinder if he'd gotten his dad's actual gun and just shot the pair of them. I think they'd have thanked him ultimately.
Disney have actually remade Home Alone, and I've only seen a review for it, but it's not good.
I didn't.
Apparently,
it's a soft remake / sequel because, I think Buzz is in it as a cop or something.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
When I watched the trailer, I was like, yeah, it's Buzz.
But the two characters that are the bad guys essentially are not actually bad guys. They're just trying to provide for their daughter, and the Kevin McAllister element of it is a little shit. So it's like, what does this all mean? What are you showing us, Disney?
This is literally what I was talking about. It's like the abject cruelty that Kevin puts those two burglars through in the first film is now being karmically readdressed in the remake, where it's like well, you know, the tables have turned slightly, and it's the kid that is in fact the monster.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm pretty sure it's called You Better Watch Out, and I kind of watched it a few years back. I'm pretty much sold on the premise that it was Home Alone but violent. I was like, yeah, or more violent is probably the better kind of term for that. But yeah, it's just it's kind of
Does it have a kid in it?
yes.
And it's a kid that's like torturing people essentially.
Kind of like, as I say, I don't want to say too much. I think you should just go in and kind of watch it if you've never seen it, because it's kind of better if you kind of go
Explore
and
this with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
Kevin McAllister, after he's left at home alone one more time, and he cracks.
There's a fantastic fan theory that Kevin McAllister grew up to be Jigsaw for the Saw franchise, which I think is excellent, because it's like, you know what?
Well, there was that film he was in with Elijah Wood where he's a kid that kills people, like The Good Son or something it was called.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I'm convinced that's actually canon in the Home Alone universe. Like he gets taken away from the McAllister family because they've just abandoned him twice. He gets a taste for killing. Like torturing wasn't enough. Now it's a taste for blood.
I mean, that's how it starts, isn't it? Like, you know, like torturing, like some violence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, you start out torturing your neighborhood burglars, and then next thing you know, you're murdering, you know, foster parents and
always
slippery slope.
Always the way. Last honourable mention, and this is just because I watched it a few years ago, and it wins. So this is a short film, and it wins just for pun rights alone. But it's a horror film, horror short called Trevenge, in which the Christmas trees revolt and start killing folks. It's exactly as stupid.
Do you know?
And
it sounds like your perfect film, because the number of times you've sent me, look at this horror film, and it's like The Killer Trousers or The Killer Settee.
Fucking excellent. I'll hear nothing bad about slacks.
Was there another clothing one? I can't remember.
So there's been a couple. There's one called In Fabric, which is about a dress, and then the jeans that kind of kill folks called slacks. But the other one I watched during 31 Days of Horror was about a bad hair weave that went about killing folks. It's just, like if it's...
Was that not a plot in one of the Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors?
Yeah,
Snake's hair?
It's just been, full blown. But Trevenge, as I say, it's very, very kind of violent, but it's exactly as fun as it sounds. Definitely, I think you can find that on YouTube somewhere. I think that's where I found it. But yeah, Trevenge is definitely worth a shout.
For you, Mr. B, a Christmas horror movie, Santa Slays, starring Bill Goldberg of WCW and WWE fame.
I've heard about
this. In which he is Santa Claus, but it turns out he's actually a demon that lost a bet to an angel. So for like 1,000 years, he's been forced every Christmas to deliver presents and joy to children, but the time of the bet is up. So it starts out with him just murdering a whole family full of people, including Fran Drescher from The Nanny.
All right.
And your man James Caan is the patriarch of the family, and he just slaughters them all, and it's ridiculous and disgusting, and you should watch it, just because it is a Christmas horror movie. But,
talking about that, there's another film that we've not mentioned at all tonight, which is a kids film, but it's pretty horrific when you sort of dig down into it, and that is A Santa Claus, where he murders Santa and becomes Santa.
Is that the Tim Allen
and there's
one?
so many.
Yeah.
There's so many things in that. So the mother and the father of Charlie, the little boy, although Santa's a real thing, they are like, stop talking shite. Like, Santa's not real. And it's like, well, Santa is real, so who keeps putting all the presents? Well, it makes absolutely zero sense whatsoever.
Yeah, see
but
these Christmas movies where it's established Santa is real, it's like, how does it work in this universe? because
Yeah.
like you think about like poor people who don't have enough money to buy their kids presents. So like, does Santa just not visit them because they're not in the right economic circles? You know, I'm afraid you're the wrong social class. No presents for you. You know, and then he flies off into the night. You know, so it's like, really? Is that how it works?
But he does deliberately stop and go, haha, you're getting fuck all, and then he goes, like he has
Yeah,
this,
like
Yeah.
and then
he leaves a pile of reindeer poop under their, you
No,
know,
it's
under
coal.
their small
Coal.
plastic trees. It only looks like coal from a distance, but when you get, and you automatically you think, oh, that must be all right, coal, because now we can finally put something in the fire, and it's like that's reindeer poop, glittery reindeer poop.
All right. Well, unless anybody else has any other honourable mentions, anything else you want to kind of bring up, might kind of bring
Batman Returns.
That's a good one.
Christmas film.
It 100% is. It takes place at Christmas, and the final sentiments is, and you know, goodwill to all men and women, and cats and bats, and penguins too. You know, like it's literally a Christmas movie. Get to hell.
And got the legend Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito is
the dude.
Danny DeVito is just amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never hated him in anything.
Nah, I don't think so either. Yeah.
Even when he plays a person that you would actually hate, like in Twins, horrible character in that.
Oh yeah,
but it's Danny DeVito, so you're like, it's fine.
Horrible, scummy human beings he has portrayed on something. I remember especially Taxi. He's just a horrible man, and yet you can't help but love.
He in real life is the nicest person. You probably not know this, Chloe, but when they were making Matilda, this is a very large tangent. What's her name? Is it Martha Wilson?
Yeah.
So her mother used to read Matilda to her when she was little, and she had the opportunity to be in the film, but her mum was really sick at the time. She had cancer. And her mum was like, this is our story. You need to be in this film. And sadly, before, sorry, bring Christmas down, but before the film was released, she actually passed away. However, it came out afterwards that Danny DeVito got a copy of the film. I was going to say DVD, but I don't think there would have been DVDs back then. But he got a copy of the film, and he went into the hospital and he played it for her mother, so she got to see her before she died.
That's so sweet.
And ever since then, Danny DeVito has pretty much not raised her, didn't adopt her or anything, because she still had a parent and family. But he has had her as part of his family throughout the years, and they're still quite close to this day. And it's just so sweet. And it's like, I love you, Danny DeVito. You could do a film about shitting in a hat. And I'd watch it.
And to be fair, I believe that was an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and we still love Danny DeVito for that. Yeah. I went, poopy into bed. Yeah, it's like, okay, Danny, I forgive you.
So,
whatever you need, sir.
But rather weird note with hats and defecation. We'll probably kick it off there. That'll be the title of the kind of hats and defecation, a festive film special. I want to thank you guys.
Would you shit in a policeman's hat?
And,
would you then take that hat to the policeman's widow
and then
shit in it again?
But yeah, so guys, thank you very much for returning, Erin and Chloe, and Mr. D. Thank you very much for your first time appearance. Hopefully, if you guys are up for Geek Waffles, I am always in to talk a lot of pish about stuff. Again, that probably should be my tagline: talking a lot of pish about stuff. I think I actually trademarked that just now. But well, they knock it on the head just now. This will be up on YouTube relatively soon-ish. I need to get my intro done. Evonne's going to do me a festive intro thing. I'm going to film her, kind of go on a new logo for me, which will be great.
Awesome.
But yeah, thank you very much, guys. When it does come out, feel free to share for your significant others, or I don't know, bury it. Like if you don't want this to see the light of the day, that's up to yourselves as well. But thank
I'm
you.
going to have to watch it first to see how I look on camera, and then decide whether or not to share it. But yeah.
Amazing.
very
You always look
Oh,
amazing.
thank you.
But
You and a lovely white shirt.
Yeah,
the
like
one that's dressed up for and Chloe, like I should mention this. Thank you very much for like festive earrings by the looks at there, and like the lights in the back. I did plan on actually having like maybe kind of lights or like some, but I just got to the point whereby I just decided to wear a Christmas t-shirt instead. So yeah.
I did wonder. I thought you might have wore the Dalek snowman one.
I did not. That is in the drawer safe, but yes, no. And I wore Meowie Christmas like when we went to see The Matrix. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking just now, and I'll just kind of wrap the intro just now, but or the outro. But again, thanks guys for joining me, talking some pish about stuff, but festive stuff. Goodbye to all. And
Thank you. Bye.
thank you.
To all a good night.
Bye.